Wendy is back in studio with us today. It's been a couple of weeks for me, Wendy. Always lovely to have you with us.
Well, you were missed.
Thank you.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, thanks. We're picking up today on a subject that actually did start trickling in even before I went on to the afternoon show and then on leave. And let's just say the trickle turned into a steady stream. It's a flood on social media, I can tell you that much. And while I was away, we kept on getting messages about Woolworths card holders complaining about a steep hike in card fees. So Wendy has done some investigating and engagement with Woolworths, and we will get to that very soon. First, though, we're just going to pick up on that question that came up during Car Talk, and then we've got a really lovely good news story to share with you. It's always a pleasure to be able to do that and share a positive customer experience. So we'll do that. Then we'll get to the Woolies issue, and then I'm sure we will have space for some open line calls as well. So you are welcome to send a WhatsApp through to 072 567 1567. Speaking of open line calls, Wendy, just briefly, so listeners don't think we're ignoring this. I know last week there were several very interesting open line calls that came in that you promised to follow up, and you asked listeners to send you additional information. We're not replying to those today. We just can't reply to them today.
No, unfortunately not. There were 4, and they were all interesting topics. There was one about a online retailer that said, we need a kettle got rusty within weeks, certainly within 6 months of purchase, so that she should have been able to get a refund, and she was told no, our supplier is pushing back. There was Charles and the delivery fee for a lot of stuff he bought from a building supplier, lots of things. And I said at the time, that's going to take care of next week's show. I'm going to research all of those. Well, I couldn't. The one woman was fraud with a paying for medication. She just forwarded me a whole lot of emails without a backstory, without saying, hi, these are the emails. And I wrote back and said, please, give me the detail, give me the backstory, from start to finish, and I haven't heard from her. So 0 out of 4, but not through lack of trying.
Okay, so if those 4 people are listening, we would love to help you. We would still love to help you. Please just send the email on to Wendy on consumer@knowler.co.za, KNOWLER. And to the person who sent some content, just a reminder, please help us help you by giving us a clear context for the question. It does not help to send us 5 different emails with reams of attachments.
They come in and halfway through the story, not where it started.
Yes, and they sometimes arrive out of order, and it's impossible for us to work like that. Please just start with a summary of what happened, what is the issue you're trying to resolve, what outcome are you looking for, and then if we need further prompting, we will get to you. So I hope those listeners are still listening today and will get back to us. An email to consumer@knowler.co.za. Now, Wendy, as I mentioned in Car Talk, Damon wrote in with a question that was partly about finding the right tires for the vehicle, but also partly about the service experience. And I want to put the service element to you. Damon wrote to say, and let me just start with his first WhatsApp. He said, I bought a 4x4 bucky. I live in a remote area, and I gave the salesman a brief about my requirements, which include the fact that he does 90% of his driving on gravel roads. So he was very specific about that. I am needing to be able to have the right tires to do largely gravel driving. He says on his first trip home, he had a tire shred. He had to be rescued because the jack also didn't work. The tire company in the nearby town just laughed at me when they saw the tires that the vehicle had come with. And he wanted to know what recourse he had. He then said a follow-up saying he did, the tire dealership in town told him it was actually a regular problem and that he needed to buy a more suitable set of tires, which he's done. And he then called the seller, the dealer which sold him the vehicle, to advise that he'd had to do that. They asked me to send the invoice, he said, but they've since been lax with their response. So it does sound like there might be some willingness there to make good on their salesman having sold him clearly the wrong kind of tire for his need. You, though,
I was listening in the car
because you've dealt with
this
before.
And I thought, I wonder if this is a Ford Ranger bucky, because I took up a case. I haven't published this. It was a Durban couple. They both worked together, and they, in the line of servicing sort of roadworks equipment or something like that, but also spend, I don't know if it was 90%, but the majority of time driving on gravel roads. And they had the same, they said they told the salesperson, it was a brand new bucky, they said what the driving conditions were, and they got the all-season tires. I mean, these terms don't mean anything to ordinary people. All-season, what does that mean? It means you can drive it anywhere. It sounds like you can.
To me, that means you can drive it in wet and dry.
Yeah, well, I suppose all-season rather than... Okay, so that's right, all-season. And same thing, I haven't got the email in front of me, so I'm going from memory here, but they... very quickly, I think they had 3 punctures or something within a short space of time, went back to the dealership and were told, oh, well, then maybe you need the Ranger, the all-terrain tires. Sorry, is that what they call them? All-terrain, yes. As an optional extra. So they come standard with the all-season tires. But if you're going to really be using the bucky the way it's for the during the work it's designed for, then you have to pay extra. And I took up the case.
Okay, it's just to say Damon's just messaged to say, yeah, a Ford Ranger bucky. Okay.
I actually did a search for when I was trying to look for this case so that I could engage with all the right information. I actually found your email, Damon. It came on the 25th of June. I was on leave and I just haven't gone through the backlog, which is the problem you're sitting with now, Pippa. So please forgive me. I'm reading it for the first time. Anyway, in this couple's case, the McCanns, they felt very strongly that they were misled, and I took the the issue up with Ford South Africa. And the answer I got, which was very recently, was that Ford South Africa's franchise dealers are trained to conduct a thorough needs analysis with prospective buyers to understand their lifestyle, business needs, and intended vehicle usage. That happened in this case. They said that's the Durban case, and because the customer expressed no specific off-road requirements, the vehicle was delivered equipped with standard all-season tires, which are highly versatile and fit most driving profiles. The resolution that they offered was that they would negotiate a preferential rate with a tyre fitment centre on behalf of the customers. In other words, they'd slightly sponsor the cost of the all-terrain tyres, which is definitely what they needed.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best outcome there, because unfortunately, I was saying this to you off air, it's so much of the work we do boils down to this. There's no proof of the conversation that was had between the buyers, both sets, and the dealership. I can't go in guns blazing and say, look, this was clearly a case of mis-selling. Look, the all-terrain tires would have cost them more, but now it's cost them schlep and aggravation and repairs and downtime and all the rest. So what I always suggest in these kinds of situations, if you've asked a very material question verbally, face-to-face with the salesperson, you don't have to be aggressive about it, but when you just send an email and say, as discussed, I'm just confirming that I've said I drive on gravel 90% of the time, and that the tires that come standard with this vehicle, the all-season ones, are perfectly adequate. I do not need to pay extra for the all-terrain ones. And then you've got a record that you asked the question and how it was answered. And then you would have they would definitely have to come to the party with extra money in that case because of all the aggravation caused. And you remember in the case of the woman that bought the Grand i10 for her daughter last year, before it was found to be 0 stars, before it was tested, she had a WhatsApp exchange where she asked the salesman specifically, and he said, yes, 5 stars.
I remember that, and so she was able to get recourse.
She got a full refund and everything, all her extras, her insurance, everything. They really went to town because there was proof.
Okay. Yeah. So there's the lesson for everyone, is put something in writing or record the conversation so that you've got a record of it happening. Yeah, Damon just writing in to say, the vehicle's a 4x4 and yet the tyres aren't suited for that purpose. Doesn't seem to make sense. But Damon, okay, so Wendy's got your email.
I'll definitely take it up with Ford and ask them. I mean, we've got to give them the right to reply on this one as well. And now it's a second case, so maybe I need to explore it further. But this is something when you're buying an off-road. So the bulk of people who buy these off-road vehicles don't go off-road, so it doesn't become an issue. So if you are genuinely using it for its intended purpose, then definitely have a very solid conversation around the tires. I remember I spent 15 years as a tandem career with my motoring, and I remember getting a top of the range, huge German brand SUV, and we're going up with another family, 2 of us, up Sani Pass, and I didn't even make it to the border thing. It just, the tires got a puncture.
Wow.
So I had to go and get my trusty, drive back to Durban, get my trusty Subaru Forester. Yes, I love Subarus, and get up that way. But it's an issue because I was like, but this is a 4x4. It's not a 4x2, it's a 4x4. Why has it got road tires on it. Oh no, it comes standard with those 20-inch road tires.
It is an interesting point you make, though. A lot of people are buying a 4x4 but not actually ever going to use it for 4x4 purposes, which is why the road tire is standard. But be aware of that if you are one of those who is intending to use it for 4x4 purposes, that you need to then get the up-spec tire to go with it.
It's going to cost you extra.
Okay. So Damon, thank you. Confirming Wendy has received your email and has the details, and she will follow up with Ford, and then we'll circle back to that when we have Ford's response. And hopefully a resolution.
They should. I would say that the dealer should be given a form that they both sign to say, these are my needs, and so there's a record. But if you don't get that, make your own record as the buyer.
Okay, thanks for that. Let Wendy set the scene on what is a really lovely, good news consumer story, Wendy.
With absolute pleasure, Pippa. So we spend most of our time on this feature talking about companies which have let their customers down. So when we do get a story of exceptional service, it goes to the top of the pile.
Yeah.
This one comes from Nico Smith of Strand. And I have to say, it's in all my years of soliciting these, and we don't do enough to solicit, I don't think.
The good ones, yeah.
This is really on top of that big pile, for sure. So 5 years ago, Nico and his wife bought 2 Grafton Everest leather recliners from Tafelberg Furnishers in Somerset West. A few years in, the leather on the armrests and leg rests began to wear and scuff a bit, and they felt this was premature. So the chairs were at that time well out of their 2-year warranty. So technically, legally, they had no leg to stand on. But so they thought they would pay for custom covers to hide the damage. But Nico felt that the recliners, albeit out of warranty, hadn't lived up to the quality promised in Grafton Everest's brochures. So he mailed the manufacturer to say so. And he copied in Tafelberg, purely, he says, for their information. He wasn't expecting them to do anything.
Because as you said, he bought them from Tafelberg, but they hadn't manufactured the couches and they didn't owe him anything because legally he was out of warranty. But let's bring Nico in to tell you what happened next, because it is a really remarkable story. Nico, thank you for your patience and welcome to CapeTalk.
Hi, thanks, Pippa, and hi, Wendy, everybody else and the listeners.
Hi, Nico.
Yes, you've basically told the whole story now, Wendy, but what then happened is... what basically happened is that, when we decided that we were thinking about something to have it manufactured to cover these bad areas on the chairs, that we said to one another, but I mean, the manufacturer makes a case of premium quality furniture, etc., that one wouldn't expect this to start happening. I think the leather people talk of acquiring a patina, getting a sheen later on. One would expect that from leather furniture, and not the scuffing, and it really started looking terrible.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that struck me as odd was that the instructions that came, the little booklet or pamphlet that came with the furniture, outlining the care regimen for the chairs, stated that I've actually written it down. It said just vacuum weekly and occasionally wipe down with a clean damp cloth. No patent cleaning agent should be used, and avoid. This wording, I think, is important. Applying oils, polishes, creams, or waxes. They could damage the leather. So along the way, we actually spoke about this, and I said to my wife, I'm used to that. We always put something on leather furniture, to not only to clean it, but as an agent that it's necessary for leather to absorb and stay pliable and so on. At one point, I actually bought some of this from Takealot, and then we said to one another, we looked at this little pamphlet again, and we said, let's not do more damage than what is already here. Let's just stick to what is outlined in the instructions. And at that stage, then we said, look, let's get to the manufacturer and talk about this, which I did. It was a bit of a problem tracing Grafton Everest because they've changed hands in terms of companies a few times. Eventually, I found them under Bravo Brands and sent them this email that Wendy alluded to. And also, as she said, I copied the customer care line of Tafelberg Furnitures. I think it was over a weekend, and by as shortly as on the Monday or the Tuesday, I think I got an answer first from Mr. Rian Lambrecht. He's the CEO of Tafelberg Furnitures, in which he said that he had discussed this with Ms. Sue Scott. She's the brand's executive at Grafton Everest, and they will collect the 2 chairs and send them into the store, main store factory in around here somewhere. I forgot now which where exactly it's located. Which is what they did. They actually brought us 2 loan chairs and took these chairs away and to have them repaired. And then after I got that email from Rian, I also received an email from Sue Scott. And she, in that email, she tried to not pass on, the fact that, or what she tried to get out of the instructions that was really not clear. And she said something like, I would like to clarify, she said, and then she's talking about 2 different types of leather, that the Berlin leather and used in your recliner is not part of our standard leather specification. The Grafton Everest range typically makes use of corrected grain leather, which offers more consistent finish and requires less maintenance. And the Berlin leather, however, is a premium natural semi-aniline leather. Now, I had to go and ask AI what all of this means, because I'm not a leather expert myself. But she said here that while it provides a softer, more authentic look and feel, it is also more sensitive and requires additional care and regular nourishment to maintain its appearance. Now, my question is, why was this not mentioned in the
when you bought
the customer care instructions?
Yeah.
Where it explicitly said that, and I can read that also, that oils and creams and waxes and polishes should be avoided because they could actually damage the leather, is what it says there.
So, Nico, you didn't
that's
get
the other thing that I was worried about.
Yeah. So
anyway, then they came and they took the chairs away and they to repair it, and then I got a call from Tafelberg Furnitures, must have been a week or 2 weeks prior to that, or after that, where the lady indicated that they got the chairs back from, yes, it's in Blackheath is where this factory is. They got them back, but they're not happy with the repair. Now, I'm not sure what exactly, because I didn't know how you can repair. If it started separating the top layer of the leather, started separating from the rest of the...
Yeah, that's what happens when it's
leather,
not full grain leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they tried to repair it, but Tafelberg Furnitures was not happy with it. So the lady said, we must please come in and pick a color of leather, and they're going to reupholster the chairs completely, which they then did. They actually sent the chairs over to the main factory, and if I'm sitting in a chair as we speak, looking at the leather. It's actually now the leather that the furniture in the first place was supposed to have been covered with, according to Sue Scott.
Yes.
Which is a more durable type of leather. It's not a higher quality, but it's a more durable type of leather.
Always ask for
they
full grain.
They sent the little chairs away. They had them totally redone, and the chairs are back and they look like new. Now, this is far and beyond what one would, in my opinion, expect from, what Rian could have said. He could have said to me, listen, Mr. Smith or Nico, you've had 5 years of use from these chairs, so let's negotiate the way forward with this, and offered me something like a significant discount on a new pair of recliners or whatever the case may be, but that's not what he did. So they went to, in my opinion, a significant cost to them to keep the customer satisfied and happy. So forthwith, we're not buying anything that they sell from anybody else.
Yeah.
That's what good customer service
does. That's the bottom line. Nico, thank you so much. Yeah, as you say, I mean, that really is above and beyond. Wendy, they weren't obliged to do anything at all because the cartridges were out of warranty.
But hearing the full story, which he didn't put out in his email to us, I'm thinking there was a concern around perhaps it wasn't the leather that they were led to believe it was.
That it was, or that the instructions that came with it had not been
there
accurate.
Was some, and it's just so nice to see a retailer go to back for their client.
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, I'm thinking here, not just saying, yes, we'll help, but fetching the couch at their expense, loaning them chairs
and then
to
saying,
use.
no, the repair is not good enough. We're
going to send it back.
Replace, recover the whole thing.
It's really
and the
above
chairs
and
were
beyond.
5 years old, but if they were full grain leather,
it wouldn't have happened in the first place. So, Nico, thank you so much for sharing that, and well done. Bravo to Tafelberg Furnishers and to Mr. Rian Lamprecht, their CEO. That is customer service, absolutely, with
excellence.
a customer, a capital C, really one worth highlighting. Wendy, thanks for bringing that to us. It's really nice to be able to share the good news stories like that when they cross our way. And please, to listeners, if you've got a story like that where a complaint was dealt with well, or where somebody really went the extra mile for you, please do let us know about those as well as about the stories.
And it also shows up those that don't do anything like that for their customers. Just stick to it. Well, it's out of warranty. Sorry for you.
So there we go. Well, so to the main topic of the day, the increase in card fees for holders of Woolworths store cards. And this did come up last month. A couple of listeners wrote in expressing shock that they were suddenly being charged card fees on a card that they had for many years used without any such fees. And Wendy, there's been a lot of talk about it online. Yesterday, I know you got another email, which we'll share in a moment, but let me just share some of the WhatsApps that have come through on hearing that we were talking about it. Cheryl saying, I am equally annoyed by this Woolies cost issue. I don't use my card at all anymore. If I do, it's only to get a card payment discount, etc., and I then settle it immediately. But thank you for championing this because awareness is everything. Linda writes to say, I've had a Woolies card for more than 20 years and suddenly I'm now being charged for it and forced to use that horrible app. I won't go near the store. I haven't been there for 2 months now and I'm going to cancel the card. And then a third one in from M, who's saying, yeah, you never used to be charged for it. She said if you had a zero balance, you didn't get charged. So now you must pay 53 odd rand just to hold the card, even if there's a zero balance. I never buy on my card. It's been free for the last 30 years that I've had it, and I have cancelled it because I'm not prepared to pay for nothing. So those are a few of the messages. And do you want to share with us what Cheryl wrote to you in her email?
I don't know if it's the same Cheryl that just wrote in, but
no,
she
it's
said,
a different surname.
Okay,
yeah.
Please advise if their latest monthly charge of 52 Rand something applies if you have no balance on your account. Is this, even if you have no balance on your account, is this correct and legal? I'm horrified to have to pay 52 Rand a month for absolutely nothing. I may just be forced to close my account, which I've had for years. Now, I would explain what's happened. So when I first started hearing this noise, seeing this on social media, I thought, but this is not a new issue. It came into effect in 2024 July, whereas, so before, historically, if you opened your account before June of 2007, when the National Credit Act came into effect and then enabled the retailers that offer store cards to impose a service fee up to a certain limit, so that was the case that if you had opened it before, they weren't levying a service fee because you opened it before legally they can. But it can be applied retrospectively. They didn't, and then they said, oh, it's a business imperative, we're going to start doing it from 2024. And we did a show this time 2 years ago. And so that's why I couldn't understand, why is this new wave? Well, two things. One, on the 1st of July, it went up from 49.99, so call it 50 Rand to 52 Rand 50 a month. Initially, it started out as 47 Rand 50 2 years ago. In 2025, a year ago, went up to 50 Rand, and now from this month, it's 52 Rand 50 a month. So that's 630 Rand a year just to have the account. And why you've got this, because we didn't get a big spike of complaints last year.
Yeah.
What's happened is, it tells me how many people, if you had a credit balance or zero balance, right, they didn't levy that service fee. Previously. From this month, this year, whether you had a zero balance or a credit balance, it doesn't matter. So think about it. You can't actually have a zero balance anymore, because in any billing cycle, you're going to attract that 52 Rand 50, let's call it, and so it's not a zero anymore.
Yeah.
So, that's what's irritating people, and that's why. So
it's the fact that those who have been used to it operating one way, which was either no fees at all or no fee if you kept a zero balance, that has fallen away completely. Okay, so the ones who are shouting the longest are those customers who've been cardholders for decades. And, fine. I've had a few people saying, come on, you're Woolies shoppers. If you can afford to shop at Woolies, you can afford to absorb 600 odd rand a year in card fees. But I think it's the principle that is irritating so many people.
And the falling away of that
zero balance issue.
Yes. Yeah. So when I put it to Woolworths, to preempt what you're about to say, the response was price increases are always a last resort, but the rising cost of doing business has made it necessary for us to review the fees associated with our financial services products. The increase enables Woolies to continue investing in the products, services and experiences that our customers value. I say what the real news is was buried in the response was that in 2024, Woolworths assured customers that the fee was not applicable to anyone with a zero balance or a credit balance. And the thing is, if you do have a credit balance, keep a watch out because it's being eroded by 52 Rand 50 cents, whether you're using the card or not.
Okay. It would be really interesting to know what kinds of numbers of clients are affected here, Wendy. How many account holders had those store cards pre-2007 who would have been sort of on the receiving end of what is for them an increase from 0 to 55 or whatever it is.
I always ask numbers questions and companies hate them, so I didn't get a response to that. I didn't say we're not answering, they just didn't answer. I said, what percentage of your account holders would have been those, didn't get. What sort of cancellations are you seeing now? Because every second person on social media is going, that's it, I'm cancelling. Whether they can finally actually bring themselves to divorce Woolies or not, it remains to be seen. But, you don't have to divorce them entirely. You can just pay cash.
Yeah.
Or use your own credit card.
So just be clear, because a few people are asking which card is it. It's not the credit card.
It's
the store card.
It's the
store account. So if you were buying your clothes at Woolies and putting them on account, and paying off the account at the end of the month, it's that card.
Or paying it off as per the minimum
balance,
the minimum payment required, which is never a good idea because you're paying maximum interest that way. But just to put it in perspective, the other thing about the Woolworths one is that they're nudging very close to the limit set by the National Credit Act, whereas other retailers don't do that. So keep the 52 and 50 in mind. You've got the cap. The legal cap set by the National Credit Act is 60 Rand. Okay. So if they keep putting through roughly 2 and 50 a year increases, they'll hit that 60 Rand cap by 2029. So it's going to be interesting to track this.
Well, interesting comment. Lucy writing in to say she used to have a Woolies account long before 2007 and then suddenly started being charged the 50 Rand a year and a half ago. So she closed her account. But here's the meat. I have another account elsewhere and that fee is about 5 Rand per month.
Well,
so they're legal. They're within the legal bounds of the National
They don't
Credit
have
Act.
to shoot for the cap.
But they're pretty close to the ceiling. Put it that way.
So Mr. Price, different markets, fair enough. Mr. Price charges about 3 Rand a month on its card. Truworths charges an annual fee of 66 Rand, an annual fee. So that's only around 5.50 a month versus 52 Rand 50 a month. This is nearly 10 times the Truworths fee. I think that's the other point. There are lots of legs to this issue, and it explains why there's such an outcry at the moment.
Yeah. So, a few of those. So Lucy says she has cancelled the account. Terry writes in to say, I was one of those who had a card since forever with always a zero balance. I cancelled, and the call centre lady was extremely apologetic as I vented about paying 52 Rand 50 a month for nothing. Barbara writes in to say, I haven't used my Woolies cards for over a year. How do I close this account?
Well, you just send an email to their customer service. I recommend emails over phoning because then you've got proof of it. A lot of people think that having a zero balance and closing the account is the same thing. So with other store cards, mass market, that's often a case where they get handed over because they didn't know, and the service fee is coming off. They thought the account was closed and they didn't owe anything because they paid it off. But you've got to actually physically close it. And here's the thing: insist that you get acknowledgement of the fact, because if for some reason they keep levying a service fee and you owe quite a few R100 and they hand you over because you haven't paid, you missed the statements or whatever. You need proof that actually I closed the account and go away.
So here's a bit of a test case, because I read your emails about this, Wendy, and I went, whoops, I used to have a store card. I haven't used it in years, and I better check. And I went onto the app and I checked, and sure enough, underneath the Woolies credit card, which I do use regularly, there sat my store card. But phew, relief, it said R0 balance and nothing owing. And I thought, okay, so firstly, I haven't had any kind of communication from them in years about that card still being active. But okay, zero balance. And then I thought some more, and I thought, I know what Wendy would say. Put it in writing and do it by email.
It's also weird that you didn't get
the statements or anything.
Or with a service fee.
I've received nothing from them about that.
Since 2004, at least.
Anyway, I sent off an email to Woolies Financial Services on Monday, Wendy, the minute I heard your promo. I thought, let me do it straight away, saying, I see that this card is still active on your profile. I don't use it and I want to close it. I'm aware of the fee. Can you please confirm that the account has a zero balance and that it has been closed? And I've received an auto response saying we've got your email, but I haven't yet had a reply actioning it.
Chase
but let's watch it and see what happens. I'll feed back next week, hopefully, to tell you what has happened there. And again, it's in my married surname, so it's not going to be linked to this conversation in any way.
Yes.
And I'll give you feedback next week as to whether that worked and how long it took, etc. But Jenny saying, I'm another one of those who closed the account, R52.50, and then should you shop all the additional interest as well? Jenny saying, no, thank you. Diane saying, I've contacted Woolies as well. I have cancelled my store card too. I'd had that account for more than 30 years. I did receive a confirmation letter that I had requested cancellation telephonically. That's very good.
That is very good.
I also used to keep the account with zero balance just for emergencies. Okay, so that's...
But you can use your credit card for that. I mean, they're much cheaper than store cards. Store cards are with service fees and all the extras they try and sell you, not specifically Woolworths, but insurances and all the rest. You won't find any personal finance or consumer journalist that is a fan of store cards.
Okay. So, Diane, thanks. It's good to hear that you received a written confirmation of the telephonic request. I think that's very good service. But to anybody listening, so if you have one of those store cards and have had it historically, and even if you've not used it for years and years, do remember you now need to cancel it to avoid accruing those fees.
They might be seeing Woolworths emails and thinking, oh, well, that must be marketing stuff.
Just delete it.
And meanwhile, the service fees are mounting and they're not paying them.
Yeah. So again, if you've got one and you don't want to pay that monthly fee, I mean, Wendy, some people, sit down and do the maths and take a look at what you're spending. And if you're using the card and you feel you are getting value for what amounts to R630 in charges a year, then by all means keep it. But remember then that you have to keep on top of the fee payment as well as the balance payment. Do the maths for yourself and decide. But if your decision is that it's not worth paying those fees, then do be mindful of the fact that you need to actively cancel the card.
I do think that R52.50 is far too high.
Well, compared to the other numbers you've just quoted, Wendy, it seems very out. I know, and we're talking a premium high-end brand here.
Still,
you would expect it to be higher, but not that much higher. That is excessive compared to R5 a month from other retailers. I take your point. I'm happy to say there's a positive Grafton Everest commenting. So let me just say Peter in Kenilworth has written in to say, I've had my Grafton Everest set of couches for over 50 years.
And I can tell you they'll be full leather. There won't be any other kind of corrected
So I'm glad to hear it, Peter, and think of us when you sit on them and listen to the show.
There's no surface layer that's going to peel off
and delaminate.
Those are everyone thinks that's what they're getting, and that's why you need to ask very specific questions about the type of leather that you're buying, and maybe we should do a show on that.
Okay, I think it is worth we have tackled it before. I know you've mentioned it before.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, so perhaps worth revisiting. But we must wrap there. Wendy, as always, thanks for the follow-up for our listeners' questions, and I hope you will hear from those 4 open line callers from last week.
Me too.
With more information. Remember, you were sending an email to consumer@knowler.co.za, spelled KNOWLER, and please do remember to put the words CapeTalk in the subject line and include all relevant account numbers, etc.
I've got news. I've got an AI tool that I've linked to my inbox that can find emails for me and do all sorts of other admin thing, and my life has changed. It is brilliant. So I've finally got with that program, and it's really paying off.
Okay, so you'll be hearing lots more from Wendy for those of you waiting for responses. Thank you so much.